My name's Paula, and I'd like to shift the conversation just a bit. I first heard you speak at a town hall that was held in Canton, where Bob Gibbs was invited to come and speak. He chose not to be there. This was before you announced your candidacy, but I remember listening to you and thinking, this is the kind of person that we need in Washington 10, 100 times over. And I'm very grateful to you to be here tonight at a town hall, listening and responding to constituents. And I just hope that we'll be able to plan a retirement party for the incumbent when you win in the election. I want to ask you about the issue of hungry people, particularly children. And that was what I wanted to talk to Congressman Gibbs about, but he chose not to be there. He's on the Agriculture Committee. He voted for the Republican budget, which proposes huge slashes in what are the SNAP benefits, what we used to call food stamps. And I know just from my experience with the Stark County Hunger Task Force, how many children go to bed hungry every night.
Yes.
On the weekends, if they're in a school that is fortunate to have a backpack program, they may be going home with a backpack or enough food for that weekend. During the summer, they have to depend on a lunch program, if in fact there is one funded close to them. And yet we've got a Congress that seems to not want to consider that there is a hunger problem in this country. What do you see that should be done?
And it's not just kids, thank you, Paula, it's not just kids going to bed hungry, it's kids showing up at school hungry. Showing up at school hungry. Anne Marie taught in some of the toughest schools she could find, and that was just one of the most heartbreaking things. You referenced the backpack program. For those that don't know, what a lot of teachers are doing now in these schools is sending kids home with food so they can eat over the weekend. I don't know what to think about that as someone who fought for a country that should live up to its promises to its young people better than it does. But that teachers have to shoulder that burden of sending kids home with food so they can eat over the weekend. And you look at the downstream costs of not providing adequate nutrition for our kids. It has cascade effects in terms of their educational achievement, in terms of their health, and healthcare is a huge piece of this as well. I was at a food pantry, and a gentleman came in choking back tears because he was needing to get a box of food for his family. And his story, his feeling was that he had failed his family, but his story was that he had broken his wrist on the job. Working for a company, he was a trash hauler, broken his wrist on the job, company that did not have coverage for its employees because it was a small company. For 2 weeks, he kept loading cans with a broken wrist until the pain got so bad that he moved into the cab to drive. Did that for 2 weeks, and then the infection set in, and he had no choice but to go to the doctor. But what that meant was that he had to choose between food for his kids and paying the doctor, getting help for a broken wrist so that he could keep working. The fact that we force families to make that decision in this country is unconscionable. And thousands, probably tens of thousands of families are literally one emergency away from ruin, from not being able to provide food for their kids, like we saw at the food pantry. It was in show. Thanks, Paula.